Jake Morrison stood in front of the massive doors that led to the Galactic Council chamber. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Today would decide Earth's future. After 50 years of being alone in space, humanity was finally asking to join the big galactic family. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Jake walked into a room so large that Earth's biggest stadium would fit inside it 3 times over. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. Strange lights floated in the air, casting weird shadows everywhere. Around the circular chamber sat representatives from dozens of alien species. Jake had studied them all, but seeing them in person was different. The Zephyrians looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their scales changed colors when they talked. The Valdari were made of living crystal that sang when they moved. The Kratari looked like huge ants, but they were smart enough to build spaceships that could cross the galaxy in days. Jake walked to the center of the chamber. A small platform rose from the floor to lift him up so everyone could see him. He felt very small and very human in this place, filled with beings who had mastered technologies that Earth was still trying to understand. Council leader Zexthal rose from his seat. He was the biggest Zephyrian Jake had ever seen, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to look right through him. When Zexthal spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "So this is the human who thinks his little mud-ball planet deserves to sit with us," Zexthal said. His scales turned bright red, which Jake knew meant he was amused. "Tell us, little human, what can Earth possibly offer the Galactic Trade Federation?" Jake took a deep breath. He had practiced this speech 100 times. "Honorable Council, members, Earth offers the same thing all member worlds do. We want to trade, to learn, and to help protect the galaxy from threats that face us all." A sound like breaking glass filled the chamber. It was Crystal Singer Morden laughing. The Valdari representative's crystal body flashed with bright colors. "Protect the galaxy? You humans still use fusion rockets to travel between your planets. We mastered gravity drives before your species learned to make fire." More laughter came from around the chamber. Jake felt his face getting hot, but he kept his voice calm. "We may be new to galactic technology, but humans learn fast. We adapt to new situations better than most." Queen Voice Clicktar made a clicking sound that Jake knew was the Kratari way of showing disbelief. "Your entire military consists of maybe 300 ships. The smallest member world has 10 times that number. And your weapons?" She clicked again. "Kinetic projectiles and crude energy beams. We stopped using such primitive weapons 1,000 years ago." Zexthal stood up to his full height, which was nearly 3 meters tall. "Let us be clear about what we see when we look at Earth. One small planet, no colonies, no orbital cities, no Dyson spheres or matter converters. Your people fight wars over resources that we can create from empty space." Jake felt every word like a physical blow, but he forced himself to stand straight. Around the chamber, alien representatives were making sounds of amusement. Some were taking pictures of him with devices he didn't understand. He was becoming a joke to them. "Your species has not even learned to control gravity," Morden added. "You cannot fold space or manipulate quantum fields. You know nothing of dimensional engineering or consciousness transfer. By our standards, you are barely past the Stone Age." A new voice spoke up. It belonged to Admiral Kretal of the Nexus Defense Force. "The Outer Rim worlds have been attacked by the Void Reapers 6 times this year. Each attack destroys entire colonies. What could Earth possibly do against an enemy that our combined fleets can barely hold back?" Jake knew this was the moment that mattered most. "We asked for the standard probationary period. 1 galactic year to prove that humanity deserves membership in the Federation." The chamber fell quiet. Zextul's scales shifted to a deep purple color that meant he was thinking. After a long moment, He began to laugh. It was a deep rumbling, sound that made the floor shake. Very well, little human. We will give you your year, but the terms will not be easy. His scales turned bright orange, which meant he was enjoying himself. First, you must demonstrate military capability equal to a second-tier galactic power. That means at least 5,000 combat vessels with modern weapons and defenses. Jake's heart sank. Earth didn't have 5,000 ships total, let alone combat vessels. Second, Clictar added, you must establish and maintain at least 3 colony worlds outside your solar system. Not research stations or mining outposts. Real colonies with at least 1 million humans each. Third, Morden sang in her crystal voice, you must contribute meaningfully to galactic defense. The next time Void Reapers attack, Earth forces must participate and prove effective against them. Zextul's scales turned bright yellow with amusement. Do you accept these terms, human? Or would you prefer to withdraw your application and return to your little corner of space? Jake looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. He could see the mockery in their eyes. They expected him to give up, to admit that Earth wasn't ready for the big leagues. Some of them were already making bets on how quickly he would surrender. Instead, Jake smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since entering the chamber. Earth accepts your terms, Honorable Council. We will prove ourselves worthy of membership within 1 galactic year. The laughter that followed was even louder than before. Jake heard comments in dozens of languages, most of them mocking. But he didn't care. As he walked toward the exit, he reached into his pocket and activated a small device that looked like an ordinary communication pad. The message he sent was only 4 words long, but Jake knew it would change everything. He typed quickly and hit send. The message traveled through quantum space, reaching Earth in seconds. On the other side of the galaxy, deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Dr. Lisa Carter received the message and smiled. She walked over to a massive wall display that showed the construction progress of humanity's greatest secret. The message Jake had sent was simple. Project Titan is authorized. As Jake left the Galactic Council chamber, he could still hear the aliens laughing behind him. They thought Earth was weak. They thought humans were primitive and helpless. They had no idea what was coming. Within hours, construction crews on the far side of the moon began working around the clock. In hidden shipyards throughout the solar system, projects that had been waiting for 50 years suddenly came alive with activity. The aliens had laughed at Earth. Soon they would understand their mistake. Captain Ryan Brooks had never seen anything like it. He stood on a platform high above the construction floor, looking down at something that shouldn't exist. The cavern stretched out for kilometers in every direction, carved deep into the rock. On the far side of Earth's moon, thousands of workers moved like ants around the massive shape taking form in the center. Dr. Lisa Carter walked up beside him. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but Ryan could see the excitement in her face. Beautiful, isn't she? Lisa said, pointing at the enormous structure below them. Ryan shook his head in wonder. How long has this been going? On 53 years, Lisa replied. We started digging the day after first contact with the Zephyrians. The government knew we would need this someday. The thing they were building looked like no ship Ryan had ever seen. It was nearly 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. Where alien ships were smooth and curved, this one was angular and brutal. Thick armor plates covered every surface. Weapon ports lined the hull like the eyes of some giant metal beast. We call her the U.S. Retribution, Lisa said with pride in her voice. She's the first Titan-class warship ever built by human hands. Ryan walked closer to the edge of the platform. I've been in the Space Navy for 15 years. How did you keep this secret from everyone? Lisa smiled. Not everyone. Every person working down there has the highest security clearance on Earth. Their families think they work at mining stations or research labs. The official records show this facility doesn't exist. They took an elevator down to the construction floor. As they got closer, Ryan could see just how massive the ship really was. The hull plates were 3 meters thick. The main engines were larger than most Earth battleships. Workers in spacesuits moved carefully around energy conduits that hummed with power. The aliens think we're primitive, Lisa explained as they walked. They see our fusion rockets and laugh. They don't know that we've been studying every piece of their technology that we could get our hands on. She led him to a work area where technicians were installing what looked like alien weapon systems. Every time an alien ship visited Earth, pieces of it ended up in our labs. Exhaust residue from their engines, metal fragments from their hulls, sometimes entire components that they discarded as junk. Ryan watched a team of engineers working on a device that glowed with blue energy. Is that what I think it is? A Valdari crystal energy projector, Lisa nodded. We found one in a trash pile at the spaceport 5 years ago. Took us 3 years to figure out how it worked. Now we can build better ones than they can. They walked past dozens of workstations. At each one, human engineers were combining alien technology with human design ideas. Ryan saw Zephyrian shield generators being modified with human power systems. Krotari navigation computers were being linked to human tactical networks. The difference is in how we think, Lisa continued. Aliens build elegant ships that work perfectly in ideal conditions. We build ships that work when everything goes wrong. She showed him to a section where workers were installing the main weapon systems. Unlike the smooth energy weapons favored by most galactic civilizations, these looked like massive cannons. Railguns, Lisa explained. We fire metal slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. Most alien shields are designed to stop energy weapons. They don't expect kinetic projectiles moving at 30% of light speed. A man in a military uniform approached them. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with the confident walk of someone used to command. Captain Brooks? I'm Chief Engineer Danny Martinez. I'll be running the engine room when we launch. Ryan shook his hand. When do we launch? Danny grinned. Sooner than the aliens expect. We've been building her for over 50 years, but the final systems are coming together fast. Dr. Carter's message from Ambassador Morrison has everyone working double shifts. They walked toward the rear of the ship, where the main engines were being installed. Ryan had never seen anything like them. They were massive cylinders that seemed to bend light around their edges. Fusion antimatter hybrid drives, Lisa explained. We took the basic fusion technology we already had and combined it with antimatter containment systems reverse engineered from Krotari cargo ships. The result is more powerful than anything in the galactic fleet. How much more powerful? Ryan asked. Danny answered. About 10 times more powerful than the engines on a Zephyrian dreadnought. And we have 4 of them. They entered the ship through an airlock. Inside, the corridors were wide and practical. Everything was built for humans, which felt strange. After seeing so many alien designs, the walls were lined with screens showing the ship's status. Hundreds of green lights indicated systems that were ready for operation. Lisa led them to the bridge. It was a large room with windows that looked out over the construction floor. Control stations were arranged in a circle around a central command chair. This is where you'll be sitting when we face the aliens, she told Ryan. Ryan sat in the captain's chair. It felt right somehow, like it was made for him. What makes you think we'll be facing anyone? The Galactic Council gave us a year to prove ourselves. Because trouble is coming whether we're ready or not, Lisa replied. She activated a wall screen that showed star maps of the outer galaxy. Red markers indicated recent attacks. The void. Reapers have been getting bolder. Our intelligence suggests they're planning something big. A new voice spoke from behind them. That's where we come in. Ryan turned to see a woman in a naval uniform approaching. She had short blonde hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Captain Brooks, meet weapons officer. Katie Sullivan, Lisa said. She's been training on our weapon systems for 2 years. Katie nodded to Ryan. The ship has enough firepower to level a small moon. The question is whether we'll get a chance to use it. Lisa walked over to another control station. We won't be going out alone. 3 more ships just like this one are under construction at hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. The U's Vengeance is nearly complete at the Jupiter facility. The U's Defiance is being finished at the Asteroid Belt shipyard. The UE's Retribution will be the first to launch, but her sisters won't be far behind. Ryan looked around the bridge at his new crew. These people had been preparing for this moment. Their entire careers. They knew things about alien technology that the aliens themselves had forgotten. There's something else you need to know, Lisa said quietly. The reason we've been able to reverse engineer alien technology so quickly. The reason our weapons work so well against their defenses. She activated another screen that showed historical records dating back decades. We've fought this enemy before, Captain. Not the current galactic civilizations. Something much worse. The screen showed grainy photographs from the 1940s and 1950s. Crashed ships that looked nothing like current alien designs. Technology that seemed both advanced and somehow familiar. The Void Reapers aren't unknown to us, Lisa continued. They're old enemies. Very old. And humanity has been preparing to face them again ever since we realized they were still out there. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. How long have you known? Since the first alien ship visited Earth 50 years ago. Our scientists immediately recognized similarities between their technology and things we had recovered decades earlier. We realized that the galaxy wasn't just dealing with raiders or pirates. They were facing something that had nearly destroyed humanity once before. Lisa walked over to the main view screen and activated it. The image showed space beyond the moon, where Earth hung like a blue marble against the black. The aliens think we're primitive. They think we have nothing to offer. They don't understand that we're not asking to join their civilization. We're preparing to save it. Danny joined them at the view screen. How long until the ship is ready? 2 weeks, Lisa replied. Maybe less if the final systems tests go well. Ryan stood up from the captain's chair and looked around the bridge one more time. In 2 weeks, he would be commanding humanity's most powerful weapon. The aliens who had laughed at Earth were about to discover that sometimes the smallest dog has the biggest bite. Then we better get to work, he said. The emergency signal reached Earth at 3 in the morning, local time. Admiral Helen Parker was pulled from her sleep by the urgent beeping of her secure communicator. She rolled out of bed and activated the device, expecting another routine. Report from one of the outer system patrols. What she saw made her blood turn cold. The transmission was coming from the Kepler 442 system, over 400 light-years away. The signal was weak and filled with static, but the message was clear enough. Admiral Zexamore of the Galactic Defense Fleet was calling for help. This is Admiral Zexamore, aboard the flagship Stellar Dominance. Zephyrian's voice crackled through the speakers. We are under massive attack by Void Reaper forces. Repeat, we are under attack by the largest Void Reaper fleet we have ever encountered. Any ships capable of faster-than-light travel, please respond immediately. We cannot hold them much longer. Helen quickly dressed and rushed to Earth Defense Command, a facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The command center was already buzzing with activity. Officers were monitoring signals from across the galaxy while technicians worked to boost the reception of the distant battle. What's the situation? Helen asked as she took her position at the main command console. Lieutenant Colonel Pete Johnson, one of her most trusted officers, handed her a data pad. It started 6 hours ago. The Void Reapers hit Kepler 442b with everything they had. The planet has major Zephyrian mining operations and several Valdari crystal farms. The Galactic Fleet responded with 37 ships, including 5 dreadnoughts. Helen studied the data, and now they're down to 18 ships and falling. Fast. The Reapers brought something new this time. Their weapons are cutting through galactic shields like they're made of paper. On the main screen, a tactical display showed what little information they could gather from the long-distance signals. The battle was going badly for the galactic forces. Ship after ship was going dark as the mysterious black vessels of the Void Reapers closed in for the kill. "Get me Agent Sam Torres," Helen ordered. "I need to know everything our intelligence network has learned about these Reapers." Minutes later, a tall man with dark hair entered the command center. Sam Torres had been tracking the Void Reapers for 3 years, ever since they first appeared on the galaxy's outer rim. His reports had been crucial in understanding the new threat. "The situation is worse than the Galactic Fleet realizes," Sam said without waiting for questions. "Our deep space monitoring stations have been tracking Reaper movements for months. This isn't a random attack. It's a test." Helen frowned. "A test for what?" Sam activated a holographic display that showed the positions of Reaper fleets across the galaxy. "They've been probing galactic defenses, learning how the different species fight. The Zephyrians rely on heavy armor and energy weapons. The Valdari use crystal-based shields and harmonic disruptors. The Kratari prefer swarm tactics with small, fast ships. And the Reapers have figured out how to counter all of it," Helen realized. "Exactly. Their ships absorb energy weapons and turn them into power for their own systems. Their dark matter torpedoes phase through conventional shields. And their speed advantage lets them pick apart swarm formations before they can coordinate." Helen looked back at the tactical display. The Galactic Fleet was down to 15 ships now. Soon there would be nothing left to stand between the Reapers and the populated worlds of the inner galaxy. "What about our ships?" she asked. "Are we ready?" Sam's expression grew serious. "The Retribution finished her final systems tests yesterday. Captain Brooks and his crew have been running combat simulations for the past week. But, Admiral, we haven't tested our weapons against actual Reaper technology." Helen made her decision. "Get me a direct line to Luna Base. I want to speak with Dr. Carter immediately." The connection took only seconds to establish. Dr. Carter's face appeared on the main screen, looking tired but determined. Behind her, Helen could see the massive bulk of the UES Retribution in its lunar construction bay. "Admiral," Carter said, "I assume you've been monitoring the situation at Kepler 442. "I have. Is the ship ready for combat?" Carter paused for a moment. "All major systems are operational. The crew has completed their training. But we haven't had time for a proper shakedown." "Crews. We don't have time," Helen replied. "The Galactic Fleet is being destroyed. If we're going to prove that Earth belongs in this galaxy, we need to act now." On another screen, the tactical display showed that Admiral Zexmomor's flagship was taking heavy damage. The Stellar Dominance was one of the most powerful ships in the Galactic Fleet, but even it couldn't stand against the concentrated fire of a dozen Reaper vessels. "There's something else," Sam added. "Our analysis of the Reaper technology has revealed something interesting. The energy signatures from their weapons match records from old Earth databases." Helen turned to look at him. "What kind of records?" Sam activated another display that showed classified files dating back to the 1940s and 1950s. Project Blue Book, Roswell, dozens of other incidents that were covered up and forgotten. The crashed ships we recovered weren't alien visitors. They were Void Reaper scouts. The implications hit Helen like a physical blow. You're saying Earth has fought these things before? Not just fought them, beat them. The technology we've been reverse engineering for the past 70 years wasn't just advanced alien science. It was anti-Reaper technology developed by an earlier human civilization that knew how to defeat them. Dr. Carter's voice came through the communicator. That explains why our weapon systems work so well in simulations. We weren't just guessing at effective countermeasures. We were rebuilding weapons specifically designed to kill Reapers. Helen looked around the command center at her officers. They were all watching her, waiting for orders. The decision she made in the next few minutes would determine not just Earth's future, but the fate of the entire galaxy. Dr. Carter, how long until the Retribution can launch? 6 hours for full pre-flight checks and crew briefing. You have 2 hours. Sam, I want every piece of intelligence about Reaper weaknesses loaded into the ship's tactical computer. Pete, contact Captain Brooks and tell him to prepare for immediate departure. The command center exploded into activity as officers rushed to carry out her orders. On the main screen, the distant battle continued to rage. The Galactic Fleet was down to 12 ships now, and Admiral Zexamore was broadcasting increasingly. Desperate calls for assistance. Helen opened a secure channel to Luna Base. Captain Brooks, this is Admiral Parker. You are authorized to launch immediately and proceed to the Kepler 442 system at maximum speed. Captain Brooks' voice came back clear and confident. Understood, Admiral. What are our rules of engagement? Helen smiled grimly. Show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human space, Captain. Show them what Earth is really capable of. As the communication ended, Helen turned to Sam. How long until the Retribution reaches the battle? Sam checked his calculations. Using the new skip drive technology, about 18 hours. But Admiral, the Galactic Fleet might not last that long. Helen watched the tactical display as another galactic ship went dark. Then we better hope Captain Brooks is as good as Dr. Carter says he is. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, the U.E.'s Retribution began powering up her massive engines. The ship that the Galactic Council had never imagined was about to enter its first battle. In 18 hours, the aliens who had laughed at Earth would see humanity's true strength. The Void Reapers had made a mistake. They had attacked while Earth was watching. Now they were about to learn why that was the last mistake they would ever make. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Brooks looked out at the stars and smiled. It was time to go to war. Admiral Zexamore stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet die around him. The stellar dominance shook under another barrage from the Void Reaper ships. 3 more of his vessels had gone dark in the past hour. Out of the 37 ships he had brought to defend Kepler 442b, only 11 remained. Sir, the crystal ship Harmony Light is requesting permission to retreat, his communications officer reported. The young Zephyrian scales were pale with fear. Zexamore's own scales turned dark red with anger. Denied. We hold this line, or the Reapers will have a clear path to the inner worlds. But even as he spoke, Zexamore knew they were beaten. The Void Reapers had brought 25 of their black ships to this battle. Each one was smaller than his dreadnoughts, but their weapons cut through galactic shields like they were made of nothing. Their dark matter torpedoes phased right through armor, plating to explode inside ship hulls. Admiral, his sensor operator called out. The Kratari named Scout Voice Tickmer had been with him for 5 years and had never shown fear before. Now, her compound eyes were wide with terror. The Reapers are forming up for another attack run. All remaining ships directly at us. Zexamore watched the tactical display as the enemy vessels moved into position. In minutes, the stellar dominance would join the wreckage floating in space around Kepler 442b. He had failed his people and his galaxy. "Sir," Tickmer suddenly straightened up at her sensor station. "I'm detecting a massive energy signature dropping out of hyperspace. Unknown configuration. Extremely large." On the main view screen, space suddenly twisted and bent. A knoll opened in reality itself, and something enormous emerged from it. Zexamore had never seen anything like it. The ship was huge, easily twice the size of his own flagship. But where galactic ships were smooth and elegant, this one looked like it was built for war. The newcomer's hull was dark gray and covered in thick armor plates. Weapon turrets stuck out from every surface like the spines of some giant space creature. Along its sides, Zexamore could see the scars of old battles. This ship had seen combat before. "What is that thing?" Zexamore whispered out his communications. Officer checked his instruments. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission. It's coming from the unknown vessel. Put it through." The face that appeared on his screen was unlike any he had seen before. The being had smooth skin and small eyes, with hair growing from the top of its head. It took Zexamore a moment to realize he was looking at a human. "Admiral Zexamore, this is Captain Ryan Brooks of the U.E.'s Attribution. We received your distress call and have come to assist." Zexamore stared at the human in shock. "You're from Earth? But your world has no ships capable of faster-than-light travel." Captain Brooks smiled, and there was something dangerous in his expression. "We've been working on that. Admiral, I formally request permission to engage the enemy vessels." Zexamore looked at his tactical display. The Void Reapers had stopped their attack run and were turning to face this new threat. 25 enemy ships against one human vessel. It would be a slaughter, but what choice did he have? "Permission granted, Captain Brooks. But I must warn you, these enemies are unlike anything we've faced before. Their weapons penetrate our strongest defenses." "We know," Brooks replied. "We've been preparing for this fight for a very long time." The human ship moved forward with surprising speed for something so large. As it approached the Void Reaper formation, hatches opened along its hull. Dozens of weapon systems emerged, all pointed at the enemy. "All ships, fall back and give the humans room to work," Zexamore ordered. He didn't know what the Earth vessel planned to do, but he wasn't going to interfere. Captain Brooks opened a channel to his crew that Zexamore could hear. "This is the captain speaking. We are about to engage Void Reaper forces. All hands to battle stations. Chief Martinez, give me full power to weapons. Katie, target the lead Reaper ships. Pete, keep us positioned between the enemy and the Galactic. Fleet, the Void Reapers opened fire first. Dark matter torpedoes streaked through space toward the human ship." Zexamore watched in horror, expecting to see the Earth vessel destroyed in the first exchange. Instead, something impossible happened. The Retribution's shields didn't try to stop the torpedoes. They grabbed them and threw them back at the enemy ships. 3 Void Reaper vessels were destroyed by their own weapons. "How is that possible?" Zexamore demanded. Before anyone could answer, the human ship returned fire. But instead of energy beams like every other galactic civilization used, massive metal projectiles shot out from the Retribution's guns. The slugs moved so fast they were barely visible, striking the Reaper ships. With tremendous force, the Void Reaper's energy-absorbing hulls were designed to handle laser beams and plasma cannons. They had no defense against chunks of metal moving at 30% of light speed. 4 more enemy ships were destroyed in seconds. Captain Brooks' voice came over the radio again. "Chief Martinez, how are our power levels?" "Running hot, but stable, Captain. The quantum static generators are working perfectly." "Good. Katie, switch to dispersal pattern 7. Let's see how they handle multiple target locks. The human ship's weapons began firing in a complex pattern that confused the Void Reapers. Every time they tried to lock onto the Retribution, the targeting beams were scattered by some kind of interference field. Meanwhile, the railgun projectiles kept finding their marks. Scout Voice Tickmer looked up from her sensors in amazement. Admiral, the human weapons are operating on completely different principles than ours. The Reapers can't adapt to them because they've never encountered anything like this before. Zexamore watched as the tide of battle turned. The Void Reapers were fast and deadly, but they were used to fighting enemies who used energy weapons and conventional shields. The human ship fought like nothing they had ever seen. More Reaper ships died under the Retribution's guns. The survivors tried to retreat, but the human vessel was faster than it looked. Captain Brooks pursued them relentlessly, giving them no chance to regroup or escape. "Captain Brooks," Zexamore called over the radio. "How are you doing this?" "Your weapons, your defenses, they're unlike anything in our databases." Brooks' reply was calm and confident. "That's because we didn't develop them to fight your enemies, Admiral. We developed them to fight ours. These Void Reapers have been our enemies for much longer than they've been yours." Within an hour, the battle was over. All 25 Void Reaper ships had been destroyed, and the human vessel hadn't even taken serious damage. The Retribution moved through the wreckage, scanning for survivors and making sure every enemy ship was truly dead. Zexamore sat in his command chair, trying to understand what he had witnessed. The humans who his people had mocked as primitive had just saved his entire fleet. Their single ship had accomplished what 37 galactic vessels could not. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "I'm receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They want a full report on what happened here." Zexamore looked at the human ship on his view screen. The Retribution was moving back toward the galactic fleet, and he could see smaller human vessels joining it. Where had they come from? "Tell the Council that we need to talk," Zexamore said, "and get me a direct line to Captain Brooks. I think it's time we learned the truth about Earth." On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Brooks smiled as he watched the alien fleet reorganize. The first test of human technology against the Void Reapers had been a complete success. But this was just the beginning. Soon the galaxy would understand that Earth wasn't asking to join their civilization. Earth was preparing to lead it. The Galactic Council chamber was silent for the first time in Admiral Zexamore's memory. Every representative sat perfectly still as they watched the battle recordings from Kepler 442b. On the main screen, the human ship UE Sishujushin moved through space like a force of nature, destroying Void Reaper vessels with weapons they had never seen before. Council leader Zexto's scales had gone completely white, a color that meant deep shock among his people. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "One primitive human ship cannot have defeated 25 Void Reaper vessels." Crystal Singer Morden's body was flickering between different colors so quickly it hurt to look at her. "The energy readings are impossible. Their weapons generate more power than our largest space stations." Admiral Zexamore stood in the center of the chamber, still wearing his battle-damaged uniform. He had traveled directly from the battlefield to give his report. "Honorable Council members, I saw this with my own eyes. The human ship saved my entire fleet. Without their intervention, we would all be dead." Queen Voice Clicktar made rapid clicking sounds that indicated extreme agitation. "Where did they get this technology?" "Our intelligence reports show that Earth has never developed anything beyond basic fusion drives." "That's what we thought too," Zexamore replied. "But Captain Brooks told me something during the battle cleanup. The humans have been preparing for this fight much longer than we realized." The chamber doors opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked in, but he looked different from the humble human who had stood before them just days earlier. He walked with confidence now, his back straight and his eyes hard. Behind him came 3 other humans that the council had never seen before. Zexthel's scales turned orange with confusion. "Human Morrison, you were not summoned to this emergency session." Jake smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "I think there's been a misunderstanding, Council Leader. Earth is not here to ask for anything anymore. We're here to offer our services." He gestured to the humans with him. "Allow me to introduce Admiral Helen Parker, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, Dr. Lisa Carter, Head of our Advanced Technology Division, and Agent Sam Torres, Director of our Intelligence Operations." Admiral Parker stepped forward. She was a tall woman with gray hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. "Council members, we need to talk about the real situation in this galaxy." Dr. Carter activated a holographic projector that filled the center of the chamber with star maps. "For the past 50 years, we've been monitoring Void Reaper movements throughout galactic space. What you call random attacks are actually part of a larger plan." The star map showed red markers spreading from the outer rim toward the populated core worlds. Agent Torres pointed to the pattern. "They're not raiders or pirates. They're scouts for something much larger. Our intelligence suggests a full-scale invasion is coming within the next 6 months." Zexthel's scales turned deep purple. "That is impossible. Our combined fleets number in the hundreds of thousands of ships." Admiral Parker laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Your combined fleets just watched 37 of their best ships get destroyed by 25 Void Reaper vessels. How do you think you'll fare against 10,000? The council chamber erupted in panicked voices. Representatives from dozens of species began talking at once, their translators creating a chaos of overlapping languages. Crystal Singer Morden's song became so discordant that several council members covered their ears. Jake Morrison raised his hand for silence. "There is a solution, but it requires accepting some uncomfortable truths about human history." Dr. Carter changed the hologram to show ancient star charts. "The Void Reapers aren't new to this galaxy. They've been here before. About 3,000 years ago, they invaded and conquered most of the known worlds." "Impossible," Queen Voice Clicktar clicked. "Our oldest records show no evidence of such an invasion." "Because they were destroyed," Agent Torres said quietly. "The Reapers don't just conquer worlds. They erase them. They delete entire civilizations from history, leaving no trace that they ever existed." Admiral Parker walked to the center of the chamber. But one species fought back successfully. One race developed weapons and tactics that could defeat the Reapers. That species was humanity. The chamber fell silent again. Every alien eye was fixed on the human admiral as she continued. 3,000 years ago, humanity was a galactic civilization. We had colonies on thousands of worlds, fleets that spanned the galaxy, technology that made your current achievements look primitive. And when the Void Reapers came, we were ready for them. Dr. Carter activated new displays showing massive space. Battles from the distant past. The war lasted for centuries. Entire star systems were destroyed. Billions died on both sides. But humanity won. At a terrible cost, Jake added. To defeat the Reapers, we had to sacrifice our galactic civilization. We pulled back to Earth, destroyed our own colonies to deny them to the enemy, and concentrated all our resources on building the ultimate anti-Reaper weapons. Admiral Parker's voice grew hard. We won the war, but we lost everything else. For 3,000 years, humanity has been rebuilding, preparing, waiting for the Reapers to return. Agent Torres stepped forward. Every piece of alien technology that has reached Earth over the past 50 years has been studied and improved upon. We've been reverse engineering your achievements and combining them with knowledge from our first war against the Reapers. The result, Dr. Carter said with pride, is technology specifically designed to kill Void Reapers. Ships like the Retribution aren't just warships. They're Reaper killers, built using 3,000 years of accumulated knowledge about our enemy. Zexamore looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. How many ships like the Retribution do you have? Currently operational? 4 Titan-class warships like the Retribution, Admiral Parker replied. Under construction? 50 more, along with supporting fleets of cruisers and destroyers. The numbers hit the council like a physical blow. The humans had been building a secret armada while pretending to be a primitive single-world civilization. Jake Morrison walked over to the main display and activated it. The screen showed space around Earth's solar system, where dozens of massive shipyards were now visible. Human vessels moved between them like busy insects. The probationary period you gave us was never about proving ourselves worthy to join your civilization, Jake said. It was about deciding whether your civilization was worthy of our protection. Crystal Singer Morden found her voice first. What do you want from us? Admiral Parker smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. We want to save your worlds, your peoples, your cultures. But we're going to do it our way, using our technology and our tactics. I formally request that the Galactic Trade Federation accept Earth as its military protector, Jake announced. Not as a member world, but as the commanding authority for galactic defense. Queen Voice Clicktar clicked rapidly. You want us to put our entire military under human command? We want you to survive what's coming, Agent Torres replied simply. In 6 months, maybe less, the real Void Reaper fleet will arrive. When that happens, you'll need every advantage you can get. Admiral Zexamore stepped forward. I saw what one human ship could do against 25 Reapers. If you truly have 50 more like it, ... He turned to address the council. I recommend. We accept their offer. Council leader Zexthal's scales slowly changed from white to green, indicating acceptance. Very well. By emergency vote of this council, Earth is granted supreme military authority over all galactic defense forces. Jake Morrison nodded solemnly. Thank you. Admiral Parker will begin coordinating our combined forces immediately. Dr. Carter will start upgrading your ships with anti-Reaper modifications. Agent Torres will share our intelligence about enemy movements. As the council members began to file out, Zexthal approached Jake privately. Human Morrison, I must ask, when you stood in this chamber days ago, and we laughed at Earth's application, did you know this moment would come? Jake smiled and looked up at the chamber's high ceiling, where the flags of member worlds hung in neat rows. Soon there would be a new flag there, representing not just Earth, but humanity's role as protector of the galaxy. Council leader, Jake replied, we've been waiting 3,000 years for this moment. A few more days of laughter didn't hurt us. Outside the chamber, Admiral Parker was already coordinating with galactic fleet commanders. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was finally ready to fight it properly. The aliens had laughed at Earth once. They would never make that mistake again.